You are listening to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, episode number 21. Today, I speak with Women's Empowerment Guide and Mother of Six, Gina Bell, on how you can feel connected through your grief journey. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their touching stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I'm your host, Christina Reisinger, and today we will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hello, Gina, and welcome to Faith Breathed Hope. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
So I am super excited to have you here and have you tell my audience about what you do. So that's the very first question I ask anybody is if you would just say who you are, what you do, and then we'll start moving into our topic today.
Sure. Well, I'm Gina Bell, and I am a women's empowerment guide from the Chicago area, and I'm a mother of six, and I mostly work with women, connecting them to their dreams and helping them realize their potential in the world.
Awesome. And today we are here to talk about how you can feel connected through your grief journey. So would you like to just kind of start with your own experience of grief? And I know that this has led you to some really big things you have in the works right now. And we're just going to have a chat about that.
Yes, thanks. So this all sort of started a few years back. I lost my mom. She passed away, and she had a very serious brain cancer, and she was with us much longer than someone is expected to live with this condition. It's called glioblastoma. And I woke up some mornings not just in total disbelief that she was gone, like forgetting for a moment that she was no longer here. She passed in her early 60s, so to me that seems really young. And so I wanted a way to continue to feel connected to her, and I had lots of stories and lots of different memories and moments in life where I felt like I was connected to her and I could look back at those times, but something stood out more than the others. And that was this conversation that we had when she was still alive, when I was in my early 20s. So I'm in my early 40s now. So that was quite a while ago. But we had this talk about the word tool, spelled Tulle. And I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what tulle was. And I found out that it was a fabric that is used in wedding dresses and veils and ballerinas and things like that. So it's this just beautiful sort of whimsical material. And for years after, I would hear that word and I would think of my mom, because mm-hmm. I would think, she taught me what that word meant. And so I ended up doing a photo shoot in Orlando, Florida, which is quite a ways from Chicago. Yeah. Just a few years after the anniversary of her death. So it was a couple days from the anniversary of her death. And I had a talk with my husband a few hours before I went out on the shoot. He was still back in Chicago, and we found out that he was going to have brain surgery and months of recovery for a different surgery that went wrong. And so I was standing in the middle of this abandoned overpass. I think we've talked about this story before, you and I, but standing in the middle of this abandoned overpass, and I was wearing this giant rainbow tulle skirt because I love all things tulle. And just standing there, I was wearing a black tank top and the colorful skirt. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is like the contrast. This is what I'm feeling right now. I'm so excited and I'm so happy to be connected to this color, but all this other stuff was happening in my life like simultaneously, you know. And so I knew that what was happening with my husband and the chaos of having 6 kids and just different things that go on in a big family. And one of the camera crew, and it was just a normal photo shoot, a branding shoot for my brand and my business. And someone had a drone up above and said, Gina, can you run? Can you run in the skirt? And it was just, if you see pictures of it, it's just gigantic rainbow skirt that takes up all this space. And I thought, oh, I think I can run in it. And so I just took off down this overpass, and I felt so connected to my mom and the work tool, and realizing that I could show up in this space even though life wasn't perfect, not waiting for things to be perfect, that I could still connect with that color. And the black tank top and the rainbow tulle skirt and everything just coming together was sort of swirling about. And I realized that I wanted other women especially to feel that connected, because I know for so much of my life I waited for things to be a certain way or for me to feel a certain way before I connected with that color. So the grief of losing my mom can be so overwhelming sometimes, but then on the other hand, every time I see someone wearing, and I think we'll talk more about the movement, but every time I see someone wearing a rainbow tulle skirt or telling their story about how they're showing up, I feel reconnected to her again. So it's a really cool way for me to sort of continue that relationship with my mom, even though she's not here anymore. Oh, that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is so important that when we lose somebody who we love, you know, that we are able to feel that connection. I think that over time, maybe we worry that that connection will disappear, it will fade. And yeah, it's a very fearful thing. It's a very scary thing to think that you could lose that. And yeah, to be honest, that's what our senses are for. That's what our memories are for. You know, we have a smell that reminds us of, you know, a grandmother, something that she baked, or you know, a sound of music. You know, I can remember a certain song that my grandmother used to play on the organ that brings, you know, her memory back to me. And you know, there's just different things that we think of. And I think knowing that connection, feeling that connection gives us comfort. It gives us that peace somewhat so that we can move forward. So tell us how this, you know, it was all an idea, but you were able to make this idea into a movement. And you're expanding that movement. You have a lot of interesting things going on with that movement. And now there is a book. So that's a lot, but we want to hear it.
Yes, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, who's doing all this? Oh, it's me. So yeah, it is a lot right now, and it's evolving and growing in ways I couldn't have imagined. So it's really cool. But it's called the Tears and Tulle Movement. And it's basically, it started out with the rainbow tulle skirt I just talked about. I decided that I wanted to share that with other women. And so I sent an invite out to like 60 women, and almost all of them said yes to receive this rainbow tulle skirt, sort of like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but it's a skirt with a twist. Each participant would then have it for a week, and she would take pictures in it, pair it with something black, so that it would represent her ability to show up from within her chaos and struggles and grief in many ways, and still connect with her magic and color from within that chaos. So every person that receives the skirt pairs it with something black. And this could be anything. It could be their dog. It could be a mural. It could be a tank top like I wore the first time. And so they end up sharing their photo and their story about how they're showing up with tears and tulle. So it's basically the tears moments and the tulle moments, which represent our magic and our color and our ability to reconnect. So that movement, we're on, I think, week 22 now in the skirts in Oregon. And so that's where it is now. And it'll continue to travel throughout the year, moving a little slower during this pandemic time than it was earlier on, but it's definitely still moving and sort of spreading hope. But then what wasn't expected was that other women wanted to share their stories and get involved in the project. And so I created these Tears and Tulle tribes and these Tears and Tulle trailblazers. And the tribes are women's groups. So they're women who share a colorful skirt of their own, each woman pairing it with something black and sharing her story. And then we have trailblazers, which are women who are standing alone. But I always say it's really with all of us. And they're sharing their stories, their colorful skirts, and then pairing it with something black as well. So we have a tribe that just started in Africa, and we have a trailblazer in New Zealand, and then we have someone basically in my backyard. So it's evolving and growing, and there are women everywhere that are starting to share their stories. And I love this platform because it's basically saying to everyone, it's okay. It's okay if, you know, your laundry's overpiling and your dishes are in the sink and there's a gazillion things happening in your life right now, just to take a moment to remember who you are and remember this magic that you're born with. So it's evolved, it's grown, it's continuing to evolve. And yeah, I'm in the middle of publishing a book about my story with a rainbow tulle skirt and how this rainbow tulle skirt grows throughout my life, even if I forget about it. So it's been a cool evolution of different things that are happening with the Tears and Tulle movement, for sure.
I really love this. It's finding the hope and the perseverance through all of the adversity, and that's really what I talk about too. And I'm so excited. I don't know if we talked about this. Well, I know we did, but I did apply to get the skirt, so I'm excited to see if it comes my way at some point. But yeah, so would you say that the tulle kind of represents the self-confidence, the building of self-confidence, and maybe joy that comes out of all of the adversity that everybody we are told we are going to experience adversity. So, but finding that hope, finding that peace, finding the confidence to move forward, that peace and that and the joy in it. You can learn a lot from adversity. Does this kind of feel aligned with what you're talking about in this movement?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because so many and yes, you're definitely on the schedule, by the way, for season 2 of this. Yeah, I definitely have you on the schedule. So the skirt it'll actually at the end of this year go back to the designer, where she'll repair and do anything she needs to do to it, and then it kind of will continue to grow each year. But yeah, it's interesting because so many of the women who have had the skirt already have said that even when they opened it, it was as though they could feel it kind of pops out of the box. People try and smash it in and get it in the smallest box they can and get it out. And then when people open it, it just kind of bounces out. And and they're saying that they could actually feel like the love and the confidence and the connectedness of the other women who have worn it before it made its way to their home. So yeah, I think that so many of the women who are wearing that original skirt and our trailblazers and our tribes are sort of standing up and almost giving all of us permission to take a second to, no matter where we come from or who we are, to just remember that like deepest color, that earliest color that I think is so easy to forget as we grow older and we get busy and we listen to what other people think is best for us a lot of the times in life. And I think when we can just take a moment and say, oh my gosh, look at all these women wearing colorful tulle skirts and they're taking pictures all over the place in them. And they're just sort of literally making space by wearing this like poofy material that's saying, okay, this is how I need to pause for a moment and feel connected to that early part. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, I want to have you try to explain that a little bit deeper. So if I were to say, if I'm in the audience and I have no idea what this color thing is the color, does the color represent who you truly are and all the different colors, maybe your path along the way and the different things that come and go out of your life, or the different growth that you have experienced? Can you explain that a little further?
Sure. Yeah. I think that we're all born with this sort of radiant, vibrant, sort of untouched color, like the moment that we, give breath onto earth, or even earlier than that, when we're in the comfort of our mama's womb, like there's this, this sort of early color, this untouched color. And I think that just early on, we start to listen, or we start to think that others might know better who we are than we know ourselves. And it's often very well-meaning people like our moms or our aunts or the next door neighbor. And they worry and they're fearful for us because they don't want to see us get hurt. But I think that is part of connecting with that deeper color, is being afraid and doing the things that scare us, and getting sort of back up in that space and being able to reconnect in a way that can help others to learn. And so, yeah, I talk about this early color, and it's not like we wear our colorful tulle skirts and we wear our black tank tops, or we wear whatever black accessory we have, and suddenly we're connected to the color and we don't have to worry about this darkness anymore. It's all connected. And I think that when we're born and we have that sort of earlier innocent color, we haven't had much experience yet. And so I think that our experiences and our struggle and the different things that represent that darkness really play a part in how we grow out into the world. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I love symbolism. So, for me, it sounds like you're really just trying to get back to who you truly are. And, when we go through rite of passage, we learn more about who we are. We may change. I mean, we change all the time. But yeah, so you could be trying to please somebody because they want you to do a certain thing. That's how we get so many beliefs and so many stories of our lives, by listening to other people. And even somebody kind of brought this to my attention, just like a story that I have surrounding something. It might not even be my story. It may be somebody else's story that I've adopted because I just felt like, that was what was supposed to be. But, and I'm sure that a lot of moms especially really get this, because when you are a mom, and especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, you tend to come to a place where you feel like you have lost your identity. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a mom. So I'm not saying anything against that at all. But, you come to a place and you say, well, who am I other than being a mom? And I assume that this could be the same thing. Even if you're in a profession, you could get sucked into that profession and say, who am I other than this particular profession? Who am I other than a wife? Who am I other than a daughter? And those are all wonderful things to be, but you have been made for so much. God gives us gifts, and he makes us to fulfill his promises and his joys, and he has these great things for our lives. And just being able to be centered on all those things, not just one particular thing that you feel like you have been sucked into. So I really think that's really cool, being coming back to your identity and knowing who you truly are. So tell us, are you still accepting applications for the skirt, or is that, you said you're on your second season? If there's somebody that feels like maybe they have a story that they just are itching to tell, and that they feel it would really help other people. Can they apply to wear the skirt and take the photographs?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
if you go to ginabell.co, that's my website, you'll see a Tears and Tool tab on there. And under that tab, there'll be different options. And so one of them is to wear the original skirt. There is a waiting list in certain areas of the country. We're trying to spread it out as much as we can. But if you were to go there and apply to wear the skirt, and we weren't able to put you on the schedule for this year, for the next season, then you would see other options. It sort of redirects you, and it'll say, do you want to become a trailblazer? Do you want to start a tribe of your own? And so everyone could basically get started right now if they want to. And all they have to do, Amazon's an amazing thing these days when it comes to these tulle skirts, because women are able to just order. It might take a little longer with the pandemic and everything happening, but you can order a relatively inexpensive tulle skirt online, and then just start writing down your story and taking some photos. And we would love to post them on our website and get them up on our Facebook and Instagram pages too.
Okay, so if they are not able to get in with wearing the original skirt, they can purchase their own skirt and create that photograph and tell their story as well to be part of the movement. That's really cool. And where can we find your book? So is it come out? Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be out at the end of October. So that's like the official launch date for the book. As long as everything goes right with publishing and all that, it should be the end of October. So you could actually go to my website at ginabell.co, and there's a tab that says back the book if you want to be part of the, pre-ordering or getting this book before it actually is launched this October. So it's a really cute book, and people have asked, what age is it for? And when I say all ages, I really mean it, because I wrote the book to remember my own color, to be able to keep connecting with that part of myself. And then I wanted my kids, especially my girls, to feel that way too. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted everybody in the world to just, be able to connect. So it really is an all ages book that can help women everywhere to remember. Even if you remember for just a second, it's a start in the right direction, I think.
Okay, so it's something that, somebody who was an adult could enjoy, but also something that like a 5-year-old would be okay with learning.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's a book that I wish I had when I was a 5-year-old little girl. And so that's part of the reason that I wrote it too. So yeah, the earlier that we could read the story, the better. But I really feel like women everywhere and men everywhere could connect and understand women's empowerment from a different perspective by reading the story.
Right. And, I'm sure even men could relate to finding their true selves. They might not wear a multicolored rainbow skirt necessarily. Some might, but they can definitely relate to maybe the loss and regaining of identity, I'm sure. So it was so wonderful having you on Faith Breathed Hope, Gina. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having this platform for people to talk about grief and being able to connect through that. I think it's so important.
It is. And what you're doing is important too. And especially, for people when we go through grief, it can be almost anything that we grieve, and just figuring out who we are after that loss, because that loss just changes us. But, bringing ourselves back to as close to normal as possible, or even reinventing that new normal, but still not losing everything that was who we are in the beginning, is probably very important. And we appreciate you being able to share this. And so for you guys, I hope that you continue to be blessed and bless others, and we will see you next time. Faith Breathed Hope is sponsored by the 2020 Virtual Grief Symposium and Ellie's Way. When you register for this event, you will have a chance to win one of several amazing customizable gifts from our artists and creators. These gifts have been graciously donated in hopes that you may receive some small piece of comfort during a time that brings such pain. You can receive one of 20 personalized Ellie's Way necklaces. For more information, join the virtual Grief Symposium group on Facebook or grab your ticket at griefsymposium.com. And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.